Hi guys, and welcome to my first ranking list. I'm Ryan Greenall, actor, YouTuber, and professional comic enthusiast, and here are the top 5 Victorian era book villains. Number 5, Bill Sikes. Bill Sikes is a character who originates from Charles Dickens' classic story Oliver Twist, and is the lead antagonist of the various criminals that the titular character encounters. In the book, Sykes is a burglar and a former member of Fagin's gang of boy pickpockets, who frequently pimps out his girlfriend, Nancy. Sykes first reveals himself to Oliver by kidnapping the boy and returning him to Fagin's gang. Later down the line, he teams up with Oliver's half-brother Monks to attempt to keep the young man's inheritance from him. However, after being betrayed by Fagin and Nancy, he kills his girlfriend and accidentally hangs himself trying to escape. Now, what lands Sykes this spot on the list is the fact that while he is a criminal and a pathetic excuse of a man, he, unlike years to come, does not attempt to hide behind a facade of respectability. He is a thug and a killer through and through. But don't mistake this as an attempt to justify Sykes' crimes. It is simply that his crimes, at least, are clear to see, unlike the others on this list. Number 4, Mr. Hyde. Mr. Edward Hyde is a character who originates from Robert Louis Stevenson's book The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and is the other half of Dr. Jekyll's fractured mind and body. In the book, Hyde is accidentally created by Dr. Jekyll, who is attempting to separate his evil and good natures using chemicals. However, he inadvertently creates a sort of second identity for himself to use when he is not the respectable Dr. Jekyll, allowing him to indulge his base impulses without fear of consequence. Unfortunately, Mr. Hyde quickly becomes too much for Jekyll to control and kills a man, which leads Jekyll to try and give him up. However, he can't, as his evil nature is now far, far too strong. Now, what lands Hyde this spot on the list is simply the mysterious nature of the character, as while various adaptations have openly shown Hyde's various crimes, in the book they are only described as vices, which leaves it up to the reader to decide just how vile this monster truly is. Number 3, Dorian Gray. Dorian Gray is a character who originates from Oscar Wilde's 1890 novel The Picture of Dorian Gray and is the protagonist villain of the story. In the book, Gray is a wealthy young man from a respectable family who is the subject of his friend Basil Hallward's greatest painting. However, after an encounter with Basil's supposed friend, Lord Henry Wotton, Dorian becomes convinced that his only true value is his physical beauty, leading him to wish that Basil's painting would age and deform for him. Over the next few decades, under the influence of Lord Henry, Dorian quickly transforms from a vain but harmless young man into a cruel, spoiled, and borderline sociopathic individual who never seems to age. It is later revealed that Dorian's wish has somehow come true, and it is revealed that Basil's painting, once beautiful, is now too hideous to even look at. Now, what lands Dorian this spot on the list is the fact that, unlike the previous two additions to this list, whose crimes are implied, Oscar Wilde did not hold back describing Dorian's litany of evil and deplorable acts, leading to the deaths of many innocent men and women. Number 2, Griffin. Griffin is a character from H.G. Wells' 1897 book, The Invisible Man, and is the mysterious lead protagonist villain of one of the very first science fiction stories in history. In the book, Griffin is a reclusive and evil man who is attempting to turn himself invisible. However, after doing so, he quickly realizes that his new power is more of a curse than a blessing and attempts to reverse the process. After his efforts prove unsuccessful, Griffin is driven to further madness and plans to use his invisibility to take over England and then the rest of the world, mainly through acts of murder and terror. Now, what lands Griffin this spot on the list is not just the fact that he's an evil scientist, it is the fact that, unlike the others on this list, he is evil from the start of the story. Unlike other adaptations of the story, such as the 1933 film, where he is shown in a slightly better light, in the book, Griffin is simply a pure evil man driven to madness by his own narcissism. Number 1, Professor James Moriarty. Professor Moriarty is a character who originates from the Sherlock Holmes books written by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle and is universally considered to be Sherlock Holmes' most deadly adversary. What makes Moriarty interesting is not just the fact that Holmes considers him to be the Napoleon of crime, but also due to the fact that he was never intended to be the sworn enemy of Sherlock Holmes as he's portrayed in other media, but was rather intended as a simple plot device for Conan Doyle to end the Sherlock Holmes stories and kill off the detective. Now, what lands Moriarty the number 1 spot on this list is the massive impact he's had on popular culture, as many critics and fans cite him as one of the first examples of a supervillain. But more importantly than that, Moriarty shows that recurring villains can not only be popular, but incredibly effective for heroes to deal with. And that's it for this time, guys. If you've enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. And if you have any ideas for my future videos, please leave a comment below. But for now, I'll sign off and leave you to wonder who are the top 10 worst movie parents.